Today in quasi-Noir-Vember Filmstruck watching, I watched two Agatha Christie adaptations by Guy Hamilton. I did not watch the Jewel on the Nile. Or is it no Death on the Nile? Jewel of the Nile is the sequel to Romancing the Stone. Um, Death on the Nile because that's not on Filmstruck right now. Although I think we did have it at some point, and I didn't watch it because I'm an idiot. But I watched the other two, both directed by Guy Hamilton. Guy Hamilton did several of the later Bonds or like mid Bonds, wherever you want to put it in the Bondness, but the non-60s Bond. He did some Bonds. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so they had these star-studded adaptations of Agatha Christie films after the popularity of um, the Murder on the Orient Express. And so you had the first one was Death on the Nile, which, as I said, I wasn't able to see. The next one was The Mirror Cracked, which stars everybody. The Mirror Cracked has Angela Lansbury as Miss Marple, Geraldine Chaplin, Tony Curtis, Rock Hudson, Kim Novak, and Elizabeth Taylor. Now, Elizabeth Taylor chews all the scenery. She's got amazing headwear a la like Boom. It's friggin' great. Halfway through it, I started crying because I realized that Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor were playing husband and wife again, just like in Giant, and it like hit me right in the feels. Tony Curtis has gotten sort of that old age that he was in. Well, he got old, but he, he was like this like hot brunette early in his career, and then he became this sort of like silver fox late in life. But he had this awkward middle phase where he was no longer attractive at all, but he still like had the swagger of a man who used to be attractive because then he aged into being attractive again. And he's the producer, so he's slimy and awful, and he's just I'm sure he was like playing several producers he'd known at some point in his life. It was amazing. Um, Angela Lansbury again is Miss Marple. Geraldine Page is the director, played by Rock Hudson's assistant. And Kim Novak is the wife of Tony Curtis's producer character. She is a diva actress, and she is about to be making a film with Elizabeth Taylor's character, who is having a comeback after 15 years of being off. She's married to the director, Rock Hudson. You later find out that the reason she took 15 years off was when she had her first biological child. They were born with developmental disabilities due to the fact that at one point her character had received German measles. Later, you discover all of that is tied into the murder. Now, who murdered her is the plot. Or no, she doesn't get murdered. Someone else gets murdered. Who did the murder is the plot. The film is actually based on, or the book that later became the film was based on a true story in Gene Tierney's life. I had heard about this movie from my mom, who, because we were big fans of Murder, She Wrote, and then she's like, the Mirror Cracked, and Elizabeth Taylor, we're always Elizabeth Taylor fans, and she used to talk about the Mirror Cracked all the time and how it was based on this true story, and I was just like, what the fuck? And because it's a really fucked up story, and it's based on something that actually happened to Gene Tierney. Now, if I tell you what actually happened to Gene Tierney, it will spoil the film's mystery. But holy wow, truth is stranger than fiction kind of thing, where you're just like, what? And also Agatha Christie, man, like taking that story and being like, okay, so what if that all happened and then it was worse? You're like, dude, what? Don't mess with Agatha Christie. She came up with a lot of really, really twisted shit. So the next film I watched, so it's not great, and it's not quite campy enough to be fun camp, but it's too campy to be like a serious movie. It just doesn't quite find the tone it wants to be, and it's this weird gauzy 80s cinematography that almost feels like Falcon Crest or something, like some of those primetime dramas, the way they were filmed. But it should be more luxe than it is because it's a feature film. So that doesn't help. So the next one I watched was 1982's same director. Evil Under the Sun, and in this film, Peter Ustinov plays Poirot, and the insane cast includes Jane Birkin, Maggie Smith, Roddy McDowall, Sylvia Miles, Diana Rigg, and James Mason, among a few other people. They're all amazing. Freaking. Oh, and Joan Collins, right? Was it Joan Collins? No, Diana Rigg. I thought Diana Rigg was Joan Collins at the beginning, but it's Diana Rigg, not Joan Collins. Okay, Diana Rigg chews all the scenery. Maggie Smith is incredibly politely bitchy. You know, that polite British bitchiness that Maggie Smith is like the queen of. Jane Birkin is amazing. Roddy McDowall is basically playing gay, very coded still, but very much playing a gay character. Sylvia Miles is as brash as you want her to be. James Mason is sort of a little toned down, but he still has that beautiful voice, so it's fine. And then Nicholas Clay, I'm not very familiar with him. He's playing sort of the man eye candy in the movie, and he has a very nice body, and the eye candy really works. And his flirtation with Diana Rigg is great. So this is a very, very, very complicated plot, and it takes almost 45 minutes before you even get to the murder, which was frustrating because I was like, because there's all this stuff at the beginning that you kind of have to know in order to understand why the person is murdered. But at the same time, it could have been done faster, and I was like, just murder the person already. Which thanks Agatha Christie for turning me into a bloodthirsty person. But essentially, it has a very complicated murder plot, and all kinds of, everyone could be potentially wanting to kill this woman. She was awful, and it's really just all about the fashion in this one for me. Like, amazing headgear again, great dresses, beautiful scenery. It's shot in Mallorca, so it's gorgeous. I wish it had been a bit, like, the pace had been tightened a little bit. I thought it was a little bit better than The Mirror Cracked. But they're both not quite there. And I don't know if it's because Guy Hamilton couldn't figure out in either film what tone he really wanted with these films, or what. I think they would have been more successful if they were just pure camp, because I don't know that you could have done these seriously and been fun the way Agatha Christie's books are. But they're not. But they're just slightly on the edge of camp without going full camp, and they just needed to be full camp. I think they would have been better. So I need to track down Death on the Nile and watch that one. These are both on Filmstruck right now, but I think they're available for rent on Amazon and on DVD, so you can check them out. Yeah, you can check them out pretty easily. And so this is Guy Hamilton's The Mirror Cracked from 1980 and Evil Under the Sun from 1982. I think if you're an Agatha Christie fan, you'll probably enjoy them, although they're not nearly as good as the book, and they're definitely not as good as the 70s Murder on the Orient Express. But they're wonderfully complicated and have beautiful costumes. And for fans of, like, later era classic Hollywood actors in, like, bad movies, not that these are bad, but that's a whole thing, as you know. You know who you are. You know who you are, and you love Boom. You'll probably enjoy those. So yes, this is The Mirror Cracked and Evil Under the Sun. Watch them on Filmstruck, rent them on Amazon Prime, get the DVDs. They're okay.